So, alright, I got a project for the winter here. It's not a major one, but it's a project, and I am going to look at a car next Friday in Lansing, and that's about a 2-hour drive from where I am. I'm going to be there for business next Friday, so I'm going to look at the car, and maybe we'll have that for a project. This is what I got here. I got this brand new. It's a 1976. It lost spark this past summer, so it doesn't start right now. And my brother cleaned the points, and it's been stored in my brother's barn. And I've ridden it pretty regularly, but like I say, this year it lost spark. He took the points are in here, and he took the cover off and regapped them, the coil and the condensers up in there. So I got a new condenser and new points, and those are the original. This thing's all original. The battery's been replaced, and that's about it. The points and condenser are original, coil's original, carburetor's never been apart. The chain and sprocket's been replaced once. The rear tire's been replaced, I think, once or twice. The front tire is the original tire, and you can see it's got checking in it, but it's not washed because I didn't want to wash it and then not be able to crank it up and dry it out. So I think I'll get it running and then wash it, and then we'll tear it apart. Now it has an oil leak. The clutch slips, so I got a new clutch for it. Leaks oil around this side cover right here. And I got a gasket seal kit for the whole engine, so I think I'm gonna repaint this cover too while it's off, and put a new timing chain in it, new timing chain tensioner, new clutch, all new seals and gaskets in the engine, and repaint the skid pan and this front part of the frame and the swing arm. The rest of the frame, the paint's pretty good. I think I'm going to leave most of the motorcycle as I can originally. Air cleaner's under this cover. The inside of the gas tank's clean. It's probably varnished up a little bit, but no rust in the tank. It's been, like I say, it was early this summer when we tried to start it and it wouldn't start. No spark. That's what the odometer says, but that's not the original speedometer. It's probably got another 10,000 miles. It's been replaced once while it was under warranty, because when it was in for the 500-mile checkup, they left it out in the rain and it filled with water. Hang on. So anyway, getting back to this after a phone call there. So the speedometer got full of moisture when it had the 500-mile checkup, and they ordered a new one, and by the time they got it for me, it had, I don't know, probably 4,000 or 5,000 miles, and then it was replaced again when the trip meter thing broke, and it had probably about 5,000 miles, and that's broken again, and I got another speedometer head for it. So I just save all the speedometer heads other than the first one that was replaced under warranty, and that way I have a record of the mileage, plus I have it all written down. And the seat was replaced under warranty too, because the piping in here came up in here. And so that was it. The exhaust system, the resonator rusted out, probably back in the early 80s. And I have a brand new exhaust system, and I think the muffler's starting to get a hole in it down here somewhere. I'll have to look at it, but may put this back on and just save the new one. Just clean this all up and paint it. So this is what my project is going to be for the winters. Get this back in running order and all fixed up. Paint this, the frame, clean it all up, make it look like a new motorcycle again, and ride it. That is actually registered to it. That was the original plate that I registered to the motorcycle when it was brand new, and then when it was 25 years old, I was able to re-register it as authentic. So it's snowing out right now a little bit, but we'll go through this thing Get it all running nice. I think the chain and sprockets are fine. Maybe put a new battery in it. The side cover, these cheap plastic side covers that Honda makes, when they get old they disintegrate, and this one for the battery disintegrated, and so I got new side covers for it. I'll show them to you here in a minute. This thing smells of varnished gas because it hasn't really been running. Last summer I rode it maybe once, and then this past summer not at all because it lost spark. But we'll get it all fixed and going and polished up, and I'm not going to repaint this. That's the original paint, so just make it look pretty and rideable. Fix this paint here too, and paint up everything on it so it looks nice. It needs it. Everything that doesn't need it's gonna stay the way it was. I've replaced the fork seals in it once or twice too, and the rear shock absorbers I think were replaced, and I got new rear shocks for it, and I think I got new front fork seals, so it's going to get a good going through. So this is that's what happens. The original, oops, on the side covers, dropping the stuff on the floor here. So that's the original. That was a new one too. They just disintegrate, and the original one broke just like it. These are the new ones I got right here, a pair of them. They're fiberglass, they're not that cheap plasticky stuff. Now I'm not gonna take them both out, but I did try this one on. You can see it's different totally, but it fits. I've already had it on the motorcycle, and it fits nicely. Looks nice on there. The white pinstriping I put on back in '76, and I think I'm going to take it all off, clean the adhesive off, and just put it back to totally original. But that's the reproduction, and the other side cover is right there for that side. So I got both of them, and I have all the parts up at my dad's the next trip up there. I'll throw all the parts in and bring them back here, and I'll start. I got to take the fuel tank off to get to the coil and condenser, and I'm not even going to do anything until I have the parts. And I'll dump that old varnished gas out and put a little fresh gas in it, and give it a crank. Make sure it cranks up, and give it a good pressure washing, and then I can warm it up and dry it out, and then I'll start taking it apart and probably strip it down pretty close to the bare frame. We'll see. Maybe take it right down to the bare frame and have the frame powder coated. It's not that much. Where I take it where I have those chairs and the glider and stuff done, I could probably get that sandblasted and powder coated for $150, and it'd probably be worth it, and then won't do any painting other than the side covers. I'll put a link to a couple of videos of riding this around in the description below. You know, I've taken this, and I'd take this on motorcycle rides, and people are like, you're going to ride that old vintage bike and through all that mud and on this ride? And I'm like, absolutely. So, yeah, I do ride it. I like to ride it. It's fun to ride. It's easy to handle. It's lightweight. Moves right along. It's geared down really low. It climbs really well. So that's going to be my... Let me open the seat up here. Hang on. The key goes in here and turns to open the seat up. That's the insurance and the registration. That's the air cleaner intake. Now I've had this thing in water up to these XL things, and it still stayed running and going, riding it through. So that's the engine's crankcase breather. So it's built to go through be submerged, and it has been. I remember one year we were riding in, I don't know, it must have been December or January, because it was a froze over pond, and we were riding across it and went through the ice, and literally the water was to here, and just kept riding it. The pond was shallow, but my shoestrings froze up to where I had to use a hairdryer to thaw them out to get my boots off. But yeah, it was a fun, that's part of the fun of riding. So I just want to add this. This is the Honda dealer where the 175 sold from new. It was Stone Sports and Marine, Honda City. The Stone Sports and Marine was in a building that was next door to Honda City, but both were owned by them. But these other guys, these two guys in the photo ran the place. So that's where it sold new back in 1976. Stone Sports and Marine, Honda City, which was at 26 Mile in Van Dyke. And there's a shopping center there now. You wouldn't even recognize the area anymore. And I actually worked at the boat store there as a marine mechanic, probably through the 90s anyway, and made good money and really enjoyed it. And now it's, just like I say, they bulldozed it, and then a shopping center went in a few years ago. There's Target, and it used to be all open field in the middle of nowhere. Now it's like Target, Home Depot, shopping centers, all these, every brand of store you can imagine, Myers, they're all there. But yeah, that's where the 175 sold from new. And there's a couple other things I just want to show because I thought this is interesting. This is in an old high school yearbook from the era, so that's how I remember they advertised in the yearbooks because they always had them I found them when I worked there. I found them on a shelf, yearbooks that went back to the 60s. But anyway, let me show you a couple others. This is a Chevrolet dealer, Heidelberg Chevrolet Oldsmobile, and they're on M53 or Van Dyke, between 29 and 30 Mile Road on the east side of Van Dyke. And they're still there, still in business. And this picture was probably 77, probably 78. So those vehicles, brand new vehicles, they're 77, 78. So a lot of Blazers and pickups and stuff like that. I think there was a Tornado on the apron of the dealership. So I thought that was kind of interesting, and that dealer's still there if you want to Google map it. It's in Washington Township. I think the zip code there is 48095, and they're on M53, which is also Van Dyke, between 29 and 30 Mile Road on the east side of Van Dyke, and almost about halfway between, maybe a tad closer to 30 Mile, but pretty close to halfway between. This is the other thing I wanted to show, and this is at 32 Mile and Rochester Road, which was called Campbell's Corners, and you wouldn't recognize this intersection anymore. If you moved away at that era and came back, you wouldn't recognize it. But if you note, the gas was 58 cents a gallon. I had the 59 Chevy. It was my everyday car back in that era. I drove it to high school. So I just thought I'd throw that in too. Just added this to the video. I thought, some people might be interested in it. So again, thank you for watching my videos.